celebrated restaurateur and by far one of the most popular ones in India. Riyaaz Amlani, Managing Director and CEO, Impresario Entertainment and Hospitality Private Limited. Mocha, Smokehouse Delhi, Saltwater Cafe, Tasting Room, Social and many more. These are some of the brands he is associated with. And that man is literally unstoppable. Armed with an entertainment management education background, he has actually made the hospitality industry his own. With me here today is Riyaaz, and he's going to share with us some of his entrepreneurship secrets and of course his success mantras. Hi Riyaaz.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Riyaaz, of course, it's 42 restaurants across 15 cities. Is that right?
That's right.
And of course, you're still counting. So how did you, I know I'm sure you've been asked this many times, but if you could very quickly, if you could tell us, how did you actually make this entry into entrepreneurship?
I was always an entrepreneur.
Okay.
I worked for a cumulative of, I think, about 4 years for other people.
Okay.
But throughout my career graph, has been largely entrepreneurial.
Right.
I started with my own enterprise when I was about 16 years old, where I had my own shoe shop in
Right.
San prior to which I was working as a shoe salesman for 2 years. And then much later, in about 98, I started working for a film production company. But other than that, it's always been entrepreneurial.
Okay.
So
is it something then that came naturally to you?
Working, then entrepreneurial, then working, and then
Back and
entrepreneurial
forth.
again.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I think
you're obviously born to be an entrepreneur, I think.
Or maybe I just happened to stumble into it. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's been an interesting career graph, and some of it has been by design, and most of it by accident.
Okay, interesting. From Mocha to now, how has the journey been?
So when I did Mocha, I had absolutely no idea how to run a restaurant. I had no clue. I actually approached it as a coffee shop, as a space of entertainment, or some place for people to hang out or something to do, in the middle of the day.
Right.
So I started off with absolutely no experience. Mocha, we started doing coffee and hookah and very simple operations.
That's right.
And I learned the business along the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
How?
I think that one of the biggest mantras is that you take a chance. You do something that you want to do, and make your mistakes early. Make your mistakes when it's still not expensive to make mistakes.
Excellent.
And then learn the craft as quickly as possible. Learn everything about it. Be interested. And once you've mastered the basics, then start going on to advanced. But it's always going to be a steep learning curve. But I think that once you start doing something, you have no option. It's sink or swim.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, tell me something then. What was the first year in Mocha like? What were the challenges? What were the hardships?
I think the first year of Mocha was one of the most satisfying and rewarding, experiences. I was in the store a whole lot. I was talking to the customers. I was learning the business as we went along.
Right.
Pretty much, 7, 9, 8 months after the first opening, I started spending less and less time at the restaurant and more in the back office, because then it was about expansion and scale and business. But actual restauranting was the first 9 months. So I really enjoyed the first 9 months of doing the business. Now all the fun stuff is being done by our partners at the store level. And I'm sitting in office doing all the boring accountancy work.
So Riyaaz, according to you, what are the typical mistakes that entrepreneurs make in the first couple of years and which can be avoided?
Well, a large part of being an entrepreneur is making mistakes and learning from it. However, I think the fatal mistakes are the ones where you give up too quickly.
Okay.
You are bound to make mistakes.
Of course.
And you're bound to make errors. But I think by giving up too quickly is a fatal mistake.
Okay.
I think the second one is being too rigid. You've had an idea and may have not worked out as well as you planned. Maybe it could be because of execution.
Certainly.
Maybe it's because of the way customers perceive it. But to be able to learn and to be able to move quickly. If you get too fixated on an idea, then that is also a fatal flaw. There's this new term in technology nowadays which is called pivot. I think that, you know, if you've made a mistake and that one product is not working,
Right.
but along the way you found something else that has worked, I think it makes sense to quickly move into that direction and then, you know, give it your best. So I think that ability to being flexible and, you know, not, I think the best thing to be about being an entrepreneur is to bend but not break.
Excellent. Okay. Riyaaz, to your mind, what do you think? Passion, hard work, knowledge, skills, or luck? What is it that really makes an entrepreneur tick?
Well, I can only speak for myself. I think in my case, it's been a bit of everything.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you can't take all the credit yourself. You know, or you can't take all the blame yourself. Also, I think if you're passionate about something, I think the hard work comes naturally and the love comes naturally. And then it's a question of luck. Whether you were, you know, at the right place at the right time, did your idea strike the right notes at the right time? I think it's about that thing.
You are somebody who's known to have sort of your pulse on the customer or consumer sentiment. Is it an inborn trait? Did your education help, or how's this happened really?
Well, no, I don't think education helped. But I mean, go to college, don't not go. But you shouldn't let college interfere with your education. And I think that it's a bit of both. I think what I do work is I think of myself as a customer as opposed to myself as a restaurateur.
Okay.
If you're thinking as a restaurateur and making a product, you're thinking from maximizing your profit.
Completely.
But if you think of yourself as a customer and how you can make the customer happiest and still make some money, I think that is, you know, so I listen to my customers really hard. I try and pay attention to them, and I always put myself in the customer's shoes and say, you know, would I enjoy this, or would I like this kind of attitude and pricing or product?
Right.
And yes, and then I also try and listen as much as what customers have to say. You know, you listen to them and then you hear them, and then you give them what they will love, not what they want. There's a big difference.
So you're bound to succeed, obviously. Then.
I'm not bound to succeed. There's no guarantees, but I think that's the best you can do.
Because at this time, at this moment, the entire world is sort of eyeing the Indian food and beverage industry. Global investors are ready to pump in money. It's sort of very exciting times. So do you think it's a good time for young people who want to get into this business to sort of start off?
It's never a bad time.
Okay.
It's never a bad time. I think whenever you decide to get in, it's a good time, provided you have something real and honest to offer. I think you will find customers.
Yes, one last thing, if you could give us tips for our budding entrepreneurs who want to get into the food and beverage thing. What are these 3 things that you think they need to keep in mind?
Well, 3 things they need to keep in mind. I think, you know, I think make your mistakes early, make them small. So if you have, you know, don't scale too early. Don't go big too early. If you have something excellent in your product and you start scaling it up, chances of it getting diluted with scale are higher. And if you have a fault in your system and start scaling up, the fault will only amplify and become larger. So I think that make your mistakes small, make your mistakes cheap, learn from them, perfect them, and then go to scale. I think that's my advice.
Wonderful. That was Riyaaz Amlani sharing his success mantras with us. If you enjoy watching Minnie's Food Fundas, do subscribe to my channel.